If you were born in the 1979 cohort, which means you're currently navigating that critical midlife pivot of your late 40s, I need you to pay very close attention. You are sitting at a highly specific intersection of astrological and macro-financial weather this month. Today, we're unpacking a specialized intelligence report focused entirely on your July 2026 gap analysis and realignment. We're going to break down exactly how you can navigate this window, secure your assets, and execute a structural correction that honestly sets you up for absolute sovereignty. Let's get into it.
Here's our agenda for today. We'll start with the vision of sovereign wealth, then run through a July 2026 SWOT analysis, talk about leaving corporate safety, look at the master execution timeline, and wrap up with your sovereign mandate.
Section 1. Vision of sovereign wealth.
So, to understand the exact moves you need to make this month, we have to look at the stark contrast between two very different paradigms. Right now, there is a multi-year Saturn-Neptune dance happening right at the Aries and Pisces cusp. What does this mean for you at this specific stage of your professional life? Well, it marks the absolute final dissolution of the linear labor model. You literally can no longer afford to trade your linear hours for an unstable currency. Instead, your target has to be sovereign integration. We're talking about building private wealth structures that function completely independently of institutional overhead. The broader market right now is going through what the report calls a quickening. It's loud, it's full of emotional volatility. Your job is to weaponize this cosmic slowdown. Use it to audit your equity, secure your data, and engineer an automated wealth system that makes your success an inevitability.
A really crucial concept to wrap your head around right now is the re-indexing phase. Listen, July is fundamentally not the month for impulsive growth or just blind outward expansion. Think of it instead as a high-yield structural correction window. You are being instructed to bypass all the emotional turbulence out there in the market. This is your time for infrastructure hardening, it's time for forensic auditing, it is time to get your back end in absolutely immaculate order.
Moving right along to Section 2, our July 2026 SWOT analysis.
The duality of the 1979 cohort right now is honestly striking. Just look at your strengths. You guys have this massive generational bridge advantage. You naturally know how to balance the structural rigor of traditional old-school business with a really high-level mastery of automated tech. Plus, post-July 9th, Venus in Virgo is giving you exceptional planetary support from micro-optimizing contracts. But we have to talk about the weaknesses. Your massive advantage is directly threatened by subconscious risk fatigue. It's this latent craving for total comfort that can actually trick you into accepting suboptimal corporate containment fields. You're also dealing with legacy loyalty, spending precious emotional capital trying to fix dead partnerships or sinking corporate ships. You've got to bridge these gaps to capitalize on opportunities like the July 14th new moon, while making sure you mitigate threats like the Mercury Retrograde shadow.
And speaking of threats, you need to be on high alert for the Neptune retrograde illusion. These are narrative-heavy, unbacked digital assets that mask themselves as guaranteed yields. As Neptune stations retrograde on July 7th, narrative-driven market bubbles are going to start leaking a ton of capital. Here's a good rule of thumb. If an investment thesis requires a super complex slide deck instead of real-world utility just to explain its value proposition, it's a liability. Run the other way. You have got to remain grounded and just avoid these illusions entirely.
So if we're avoiding the fluff, where should you actually focus? Once Venus enters Virgo on July 9th, you want to pivot your strategy. Focus your allocations exclusively on high-precision sectors that have immaculate balance sheets. We are talking data logistics, compliance software, agricultural automation, and specialized medical hardware. Extreme utility and data-driven proof points, those are your safe harbors this month.
All right, Section 3, leaving corporate safety behind. I know what the burning question is for so many of you in the 1979 cohort right now. Is it actually safe to leave the corporate containment field? It's totally natural to feel anxiety about ditching that cozy W-2 safety net and the predictable paycheck. The answer is yes, it is safe, but absolutely not through an impulsive resignation. Instead, you need to execute what this intelligence report calls engineering the hatch. You need to reframe how you look at your current salary. Treat it as your primary angel investor, funding your sovereign exit while you are still safely inside the containment field.
This brings us to the Minimum Viable Asset, or MVA, framework. It's a brilliantly simple blueprint. Step 1. Formalize your intellectual property. Use the internal focus of this month to officially codify what you know. Step 2. Construct the MVA entity. Establish an independent consulting vehicle or a private corporate structure while you're still under contract. And Step 3, activate private executive networks. Once the visibility blocks dissolve later in the month, you can start pitching pilot offers that completely replace your employment structure with a high-value equity or retainer framework.
Section 4, the master execution timeline.
Okay, we're dividing July up into precise operational zones so you know exactly when to pause and exactly when to strike. Welcome to your pause and pressure test phase. Listen closely to these dates. From July 1st to the 8th, you are in a zero visibility zone. Strictly avoid major capital outlays. This time is for forensic cash flow audits and deep cleaning. If a contract negotiation stalls out right now, do not force it. The delay is actually doing you a favor by revealing a hidden liability. Then, around July 17th through the 19th, driven by Mars-Uranus alignments, you should expect some sudden operational friction from legacy partners. But, because you did your heavy auditing early in the month, you are going to navigate this instability with absolute technical control and zero panic.
In stark contrast to the pause phase, your absolute execution windows open mid-month. July 9th is when you shift to structural staging and utility. July 14th, the Cancer new moon, is literally the most fertile financial day of the quarter. Use it for quiet, highly confidential asset structuring and opening up private entities. Then, starting July 23rd, when Mercury stations direct, you finally get the green light. Absolute execution begins. By July 26th, large institutions are going to slow their decision-making way down because Saturn is retrograding. And that is your exact cue to swoop in as an agile, independent solution provider. Finally, use the July 29th full moon to launch your platforms and actually realize your network-based wealth.
Section 5. Your sovereign mandate. Let's synthesize this whole macro financial strategy into a mandate specifically for your generation. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer, remember this one sentence. Your highest leverage asset at age 47 is your judgment, not your labor. The transits of July 2026 are meticulously designed to break your reliance on brute force execution. You are transitioning from being a high-level tool for someone else's company into becoming the architect of your own wealth system. Your accumulated wisdom, that is your true value proposition.
To pull this transition off flawlessly, lock in these 3 final directives. Number 1, prioritize asset ownership. Focus exclusively on assets you actually control and divest completely from those unbacked, narrative-heavy ventures we talked about. Number 2, implement automated management. Harden your infrastructure by replacing manual, day-to-day oversight with automated protocols and AI agents. And number 3, enforce institutional pricing. It is time to stop trading your hours for a salary. You need to be pricing your specialized, codified wisdom at institutional rates.
I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap things up. Will you remain a high-level tool for others, or will you engineer your wealth as a sovereign architect? The structural correction of July 2026 is your bridge to make this happen. By following this blueprint, you're transitioning your wealth from a stressful emotional pursuit into an engineered inevitability. The cosmic slowdown is here, folks. It's time to build your architecture.